Alright, today's objective is the students will learn to use the fundamental counting principle in order to calculate the total number of ways or different events can occur. So again, you're using this thing called the fundamental counting principle in order to calculate the number of ways different events can occur. So the way you're going to want to set problems up is you're going to have n possible outcomes and you're going to have categories. So what you always do is you multiply the numbers. So I like to set my problems up with different categories. So say there's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different categories. I would just put category 1 here, and you'll see the categories and what I mean in a second. Category 2, category 3, whoops, category 4, and category 5. So this would be an example for a 5 category problem. And then you're going to have different options. So category 1, you're going to have a number of options. Each category has a different number of options that you might, or possible outcomes. And you set those problems up, and then you would multiply those numbers together. So in your first example, you have Pat's Pizza, and they offer 6 appetizers and 4 main courses. So your categories would be appetizers and main courses. So I would set up 2 slots, and I would, in the beginning I like to label, I would label this as appetizers, and this is main courses. And we want to know in how many ways can a person order a 2-course meal. So in this case, the courses would be appetizers and main. So since there's 6 appetizers, there's 6 options for your appetizers and 14 main courses. So you would do 6 times 14, you would get 84 ways. It's always good to include a label on your answer. So I think the math is not going to be hard in this unit. It's just going to be making sure you answer the correct question and reading through the whole problem. Okay? So in number 2, you're going to take 4 courses next year, a math, an English, a history, and a bio. Based on the teachers, there's 4 sections of math, 2 of English, 2 of history, and 3 of bio. So you have no scheduling conflicts. You want to figure out how many different 4-course schedules are possible. So you have to take 4 courses, and they have to be in math, English, history, and bio. So you would have 4 slots. So you have a math. So if you want to put an M for math or write the whole word out. You have an English. You have a history. And you have a bio. Okay, so you can see those are the actual categories. And then the number of math sections. So options for math are, you have 4 math options. You have 2 English, 2 history, and 3 bio. So according to the fundamental counting principle, you have to multiply these numbers. So 4 times 2 times 2 times 3 gets you to 48. So you have 48 different schedule options. So I'm going to label this 48 schedules. So it might be a good idea to start highlighting what the actual question is asking, so then you know what your label is going to be. Okay? Alright, so the last one on the front, you're taking a multiple choice test. It has 10 possible questions. Each of those questions has 4 answer choices and only 1 answer is correct. You have to answer all the questions, you can't leave anything blank, and you must select one of these 4 answer choices. How many ways can you answer the questions? So in this case, you have 10 different questions, So I might maybe make a note that these are going to be the questions. So you should have 10 little slots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then for each question, you have 4 different answer choices you could choose. So you have, for question number 1, you can choose 4 different answer choices. Question number 2, you have those same 4, and so on. So each question has 4 answer choices. So you could do 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4, 10 times, or you could make it simpler on yourself to make sure you don't miss any 4s, and you could just do 4 to the 10th power, which would be this number, which is, you add the commas in, 1,048,576 different ways of answer choices you could answer that 10-question test. Okay? So that is the basis of the fundamental counting principle. It's multiplication. So you want to make sure that you're not adding the numbers. And you definitely want to make sure that you're setting them up correctly. And I highly suggest you show your work. That way, as I'm coming around and checking, if you did get a wrong answer, I can easily point you hopefully in the right direction. Okay? So I will go through a couple more and set them up for you, but you'll be responsible for answering them. Some of them get a little tricky because you have to really pay attention to what possible outcomes you have. Okay? So in this one, your car manufacturers are now experimenting with lightweight 3-wheel cars for one person. Obviously, this is not a possibility if you want to have a 3-wheel car around here. So you can get 9 possible colors with or without air conditioning, electric or gas powered, and with or without an onboard computer. So the question is, in how many ways can this car be ordered? Okay, so I'm going to go through and set your categories up for you. Your first category is the colors. So I'd put a little line for colors. Your second category is air conditioning. Third category is power. I guess higher enough. And then your fourth category is computer. Alright, so the color is pretty easy to see the options. You can have 9 different colored options. So that goes 9. Now for air conditioning, you can either get it with or without. So how many options is that? That would be 2 options. For electric or gas, again, that's 2 options. One as gas, one as electric. And then you can either get with or without the onboard computer, so that's 2 options. So you would multiply these numbers again, and when I check your packet, I'll be looking for these numbers filled in. Okay? So don't just leave your packet with blank ways, actually go and do the math. Alright, here's another good one to set up. For a temporary job between semesters, you're painting parking spaces for a new shopping mall with a letter of the alphabet and a single digit from 1 to 9. How many different parking spaces can you paint with distinct labels? So the first thing you have to realize is how many categories do you have? So it says you're painting a parking spot. It's going to have a letter of the alphabet and a digit. So for example, it could be A5, okay? So that means you have 2 categories. Your first category is letters, and it says it can be any number from the alphabet, or I'm sorry, any letter of the alphabet. So that means you have 26 different options to choose from. Your next category is you have to have a digit, and it's just a single digit, and you can choose from 1 to 9, which is how many different options? Well, if you count 1 to 9, there's 9 different options. 26 times 9, and I will be checking your answer. Don't just leave it blank. And I would make your label parking spaces this time. Okay, so you're actually going to go through and do that multiplication. All right, I will set 6 and 7 up, but you're going to have to come up with the numbers you use. Okay, so the original plan for area codes, and area codes is like 410 or 443, so those first 3 digits of your telephone. The first digit could be any number from 2 through 8. The second digit was either a 0 or a 1, and the third digit could be any number except 0. So you obviously have 3 slots open. Okay. Your first slot, the first digit, can be any number from 2 through 8. So you have to figure out how many options that is. The second digit is either a 0 or a 1. And the third digit could be any number except 0. Okay? So something I sometimes find helpful to do is to write out the digits. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that first number can be anything from 2 through 8. So that means you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let me just double check that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you have 7 options in that first number. So then you would need to figure out how many options do you have in slot 2 when it needs to be a 0 or a 1. And then how many options do you have in slot 3 when it can be any digit except 0. Okay, so again, I'll be coming around and checking your answers. And this is going to be area code. Okay, and I'll leave you number 7 to set up by yourself. Once you're done this, you have a classwork assignment to do and then your closure, and I'll be around to answer any questions that you have and to check your answers in your packet.